Hello everyone, my name is Arthur Karapateas, and this is Scrap. It's a tabletop game that I made to work on paper prototyping techniques and practice implementing gameplay mechanics. I worked on this project with four other colleagues of mine, and we worked on this remote so that we used Tabletop Simulator to accomplish this. Now this game, Scrap, is a PvP-PvE asymmetrical game where three players are competing against a game boss. This is the game boss's board, and the game boss is playing events in this game show against those three players, where those three players are trying to survive in the game show. So imagine they're in this arena, the game boss is initiating events, and these players are going to have to survive those events. Now, the arena itself is split up into three different regions: the green region, the blue region, and then the yellow region. The red line, they can cross over this easily. It's just a way to separate the regions off. So the way this game works is each player will draw one leg. It would be shuffled in the actual game. So we could do that right now. We could just shuffle this. Shuffle each of the decks. And then, so we need another arm, because each mech has two guns, one pair of legs, and one headpiece. So this player got the snare head. So, and these are consumable items that the players are rewarded if they complete an event. So the flow of the game works with these initiative cards that we will also shake up, flip it over, shake it up again, and we draw the card. So imagine it's 1 through 20. Just to make the odds very variant, and basically each player draws an initiative card, and the player with the lowest initiative moves first. But before that, the game boss draws 3 event cards secretly, and then they would pick an event to initiate the game. So let's say we start off with MVP. So in this game, the game boss places an MVP bot somewhere in the map. So this will be here, and if the players defeat this MVP bot, they will get to draw a piece of scrap. Now, the MVP bot has pretty high stats compared to normal scrap bots. Typically in events, the game boss places these normal little scrap bots. And in here, these are the stats if you hover over them. I implemented this little feature here to display the stats of the units. And if you hover over the mat for each player, you will also get what these colors are denoting. So the orange is literally the parts of the mech itself. The red is the initiative of this player. So imagine they get to go first. And then the yellow is their scrap pile. So, and then the green is their consumables. So if they defeat this bot and they succeed at this event, each player will get one consumable from this item deck. It is also randomized. And yeah, so now the stats of the scrap bot will denote how much it can move in the round. So imagine we put it right here. Now it's in range to attack. It's within 2 range, and its attack is 4 damage. And this right here is used to be a health counter. So the health is affected by the heart symbol here and the +1 HP. So we have 11 health on this mech here. So if they were to get attacked, they would lose 4. So we would go from 11 down, and we would be at 7. So health after that. Now, the player also has 2 different weapons, so they can choose what they want to use. They can choose to use the range 3 or the range 5. And then you also have these descriptions for special abilities. Not all cards have a special ability. This one does not, but it does a little bit more damage. So, and then the headpiece also gives an ability and a health boost, like we discussed earlier. So imagine now the player defeats the scrap bot. Not only do they get that consumable item that they can put right here, they would also get a piece of scrap. So imagine they're ripping it off of this scrap bot. That's the whole idea of this game. So now all 3 of these decks would get put into one once the game is starting, and they would never be separated again. And we shuffle them out. We shuffle them up, and then we draw a piece of scrap. So, oh, it's a new headpiece. So now the player has to decide, do I want to keep my old snare headpiece or my assault headpiece? And now just imagine the mech is physically ripping these pieces off. And the piece that they don't keep goes into their scrap pile. So, and at the end of this game show, if the players survive all of the events that the game boss plays into play, then these players will the player with the most scrap wins the game show. So they are competing against each other, but they are also working together. And the game boss is another player, and they're controlling all the NPCs, all the little scrap bots they throw into play. The game boss when he goes into play, and special events. So we have some events. We've got event we have right here. We have the scrap boss goes into place, so they would control this. They would also control all the other little scrap bots in. We have oddball here, so the game boss would be competing against the players for the oddball in the scenario. So based on the description, there's different ways to play these modes, and it's described on the cards themselves. It's a very simple game. Very quick pick up and play with your friends, but we thought it'd be cool to go with the asymmetrical approach, and a lot of this whole project's goal was to help us think about gameplay mechanics and balancing. So if you notice, there's always a trade-off. If a card doesn't have a special ability, typically it'll do more damage. If we were to get another pair of legs, let's see. Nope, we get another pair of legs here. You have to decide, do you want to keep the bipedal or do you want to keep the grinder treads? And the bipedal gives you more movement and more health, but the grinder treads give you a special ability where you can move through cover and destroy it in the process. So if the player were to move over this cover, it would destroy this cover in the process. So the player would be here and there would be no cover there. So they can alter the map. So you can shoot, you can destroy parts of the cover so that the enemies can't hide, things like that. Some weapons can shoot through cover. There's a lot of different options here. So you work together, but you're also competing for the highest score in scrap. And this game was made with a lot of assets packs that we found on Tabletop Simulator. Specifically to make this board and these walls here, we used a modular hexagonal toolkit that was free. And I merged all these pieces into one to make the board, so the board isn't movable, but these are. The little pieces themselves are pieces from BattleBots that we recolored. And the cards were made by us. So I worked on a variety of the weapons for the cards, just using Photoshop. I put these together. I also worked on the mechanics with my my colleagues, and we also worked on I also worked on finding tools in Tabletop Simulator itself to make the game easier to play, like this tool right here, the health counter. I also added the descriptors if you just hover over something, to make the game much easier to play. So if you hover over, like the game boss, for instance, you can see his stats. If you hover over this, this is for capture the flag. If you hover over the oddball, it denotes that's for oddball. So a lot of this game is self-explanatory, and that's scrap. So yeah, and I also, a lot of this, like I said, was working on developing mechanics. So if you'd like to play it, let me know, and I'll send you the Steam link to this game. So thank you so much. And oh yeah, the artwork as well is also from other tabletop games that we edited. So we modified these because we had 1 week to make this prototype. Our logo for Scrap, though, was made by our artist. So yeah, and everything else in here, we got the vibe going for the game to be appropriate. You know, it looks like it's on Mars and things like that. And we're in a little ship with a lot of robot, mech, sci-fi stuff. So that's our game. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you have any questions, let me know.